You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 8158 Podcast, Stories of Sacrifice. Today we have AK Dozanti. She is a former law enforcement, and she also does a wealth of other things that you guys would be interested in. So with that being said, I'm going to hand over the mic to AK and let her do her thing.
Okay. Well, where would you like me to start? How far back are we going here?
So let's go back maybe to your childhood and see how it led up to you getting into law enforcement.
You know, I don't know if it did or not. I'm sure it did somehow, but I grew up in southeastern Ohio, out in the middle of nowhere. Only child. My dad was a trapper and a mechanic. So it was a different way of growing up, at least different from my peers. We had a wood-burning furnace in our house, and we lived, quite a ways away from town. And I spent most of my days out in the woods and or just with my dad, like hanging out in the garage. Only had 3 channels for a really, really, really long time. Clearly, it seemed like forever with all the reelays. And it was I thought pretty normal growing up until I got older and realized that that wasn't the typical upbringing. But what seemed to have shaped most of my upbringing was I experienced a lot of loss, family members, and in my teens, I experienced 3 suicides back to back to back. And the last of which was my best friend since the time we were 4 years old. We met in daycare. One was a girl that I was on a sports team with. She was only 14 or 15. Second one was my friend's dad, who was also our soccer coach and a pastor. And then the last one was my best friend. And I didn't realize how much those things shaped me until much later, because I just kept going, because what else are you going to do? And so the last one was 17 years old. And then 2 years later, I jumped into law enforcement doing undercover online investigations. So very much took all of that with me. Didn't even realize that I was carrying it. It was just there. And so I jumped in to undercover online investigations. And do you remember Chris Hansen, To Catch a Predator? Okay. So we were doing that, but in real life without the entrapment charges. And I was doing controlled phone calls, and I was the decoy, standing out in front of Circle K, waiting, and then I did that for a couple of years while I was getting my undergrad. And as soon as I started doing it, I was like, sign me up, whatever I got to do. This is these people are sick. We got to combat this. I was fully committed. I was using my actual cheerleading pictures as to send them online. That I was, in hindsight, at 19 years old, that probably wasn't, I don't know why anybody let me do that. But nonetheless, I did that for a couple of years. I went to the academy at 20 and got hired on with the local sheriff's office. But the stipulation was, we're not going to fully bring you on until you're done with your degree. We don't want you to try to split your time or whatever. So 2 days after I got my degree, started with the sheriff's office and did a multitude of things there. I did court security, prison transport. Most of my time there was on road patrol, and I did marine patrol in addition to that. And then from there, it all it seemed to crumble, but actually what was happening was I was building my foundation for what I'm doing now.
Right. That's pretty awesome. Starting that young, it's amazing. That is very amazing. So what was it like getting these men to want to come after you, like getting them enticed to come out and do these. I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but it boggles my mind that men, like older men, would like to try to get after, children.
Well, it'll boggle your mind to know that there was no enticing required. Is what we would do, because there was like AOL chat, there was like chat rooms, right? Where you could just enter the chat and then you could have side conversations if you wanted to, right? So there would be these chat rooms and we would enter the chat room, not say anything, not put anything in the chat, just sit dormant in the group. And eventually, little by little, we would get like individual DMs and they would say ASL, right? Age, sex, location. Many people listening might not even be old enough to know what that meant, but
You had
you would, okay. So, and you would say 14, F for female, and location was Ohio. And then from that point, every once in a while I would get one where it was like, too young for me, see you later. Bye, thanks for being a upstanding person. And then we would get more people that I'm comfortable with that would just continue to talk. And the conversation would be pretty normal in the beginning. And then it would get weird. And they'd start asking about like, well, how tall are you? How much do you weigh? Like, can you send me a picture? Can I send you a picture? Have you ever kissed anybody? And like, it was just like very little, like just dipping their toes in. And it was very much grooming behavior, but over a chat. And the whole thing, because on Chris Hansen, like the Chris Hansen show, many of their cases actually fell apart because they were the ones bringing up sexual things. They were the ones kind of like egging it on.
Mm-hmm.
In real life cases that you actually want to stick, you can't do that. It's entrapment. So they have to be the ones to bring it up every time. And you have to just play dumb. You have to play like you're a dumb 14-year-old.
Yeah.
And so it was really wild how many hits you would get every single time you entered the chat. And we would keep files. And once we were done, we would print out the chat, keep the file. And there were some people that we worked for months. And, other people would get, like, if I wasn't there, like somebody else could jump on as me. And then they could like look back through the chat and be like, oh, okay, we talked about this and this and this. And then they could look at my profile and it's like, oh, this is my information, my story, right? And they could go with that. But the craziest one I ever had was the guy had I think 30-minute drive to get to where I was. And from the time he said hello in the chat to the time we had him in handcuffs was 44 minutes.
Wow.
Yes. And they were like, that's a new record. And I'm like, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's pretty alarming because children are actually being subjected to this. Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for you doing what you were doing, you never know where he could have ended up.
Yes. And it became, I don't want to say addictive, but it became a thing in my, almost in my gut, where I felt like I had to do that because if not, they're going to be talking to real 14-year-olds. They're going to be meeting up with real 14-year-olds whose mom is working night shift at Walmart, right? Like, have to be the one so that we can catch these people. And so we did a lot. We did a lot of work, but it was hard to step away from that for sure.
Was it?
I knew they were still working on it, which gave me solace, but they were a bunch of grown men, and so they couldn't do the controlled phone calls like I could.
Right. And how long did you do the sting operations for?
It was like 2 to 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was all volunteer. I was auxiliary, didn't get paid for any of it. It was just like, let me cut my teeth, let me get experience, learn. And I sure learned a lot. It was worth every bit. And most of it was happening between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m.
Hmm.
So
Unreal. So aside from that, what are some of the other things and the activities that you had taken on other than the radio station? Because she is on the Thin Line Rock Station. She is one of our fabulous DJs with us, and which we're glad to have you on there. It's pretty awesome. But other than the rock station, what are some of the other projects and other things that you've taken on since?
yeah. So in 2021, I formed Lifesaver Wellness. And I started because there was a whole chunk of time between when I left full-time law enforcement and 2021. And a lot of formative things happened through that time. But I formed Lifesaver Wellness, and I started building out curriculums for mental health, emotional intelligence, burnout prevention and awareness, suicide prevention and awareness, and developing these curriculums for first responders. And I started teaching at fire departments and police departments and coaching individuals. I went down every rabbit hole, training, seminar, book, podcast. Like, I spent 5 years getting my master. Well, 2 of those years I got my master's degree. All these things happened. And I didn't know whether I wanted to go very woo-woo because I had become a yoga instructor and meditation specialist and all these things, or if I wanted to go back to law enforcement. And I'm like, I feel like I have no direction here. And then all of a sudden I was like, actually, the direction is super clear. I need to take all of these things that I've learned and bring it back to my first responder family. So started doing all of the trainings and coaching. Oddly enough, my TikTok that I just started on a whim started to take off, and I started to get more requests for trainings and conferences, like keynote speeches and things like that. And I was like, what is happening? This is okay. So then I really started diving in. And because I have a weird way of seeing things sometimes, like my brain just kind of synthesizes things down and makes them into, like, I can take these big nerdy concepts and all of the research and the data and just make it make sense for people. Somebody said once that I have a conduit from the thick books to the thick cops. And I'm like, I'll take it. So yeah, that has morphed into, I am now, I guess, considered a national speaker, and somewhat out of necessity, because I have all this information just rattling around in my brain. Last year around this time, actually, I dropped my first book called Beat the Burnout. Mostly I was like, I have all of this information and I just want to make it accessible. Like, I can't coach everyone individually.
Right.
And I don't know how much they're going to get from me in 1,000 different 90-second clips on TikTok. So let me just put it all together. And it was a labor of love. I put everything I had into that book. And then that took off. And last year, I think in November, I dropped my second book, which is more of like a field manual type book called Responder Reset. And it's a different kind of format, but it's kind of exactly, I think, what first responders need. It's a read it when you need it kind of book. So you don't sit and just read it all the way through. You flip to the table of contents and it says, read this when you're wired but tired. Read this when you want to connect with your significant other, but you don't know how. Read this when that call just hit different, or whatever the case is. And then it gives you actionable steps to follow. So that's kind of where I am now. And of course, the latest endeavor has been Rock and Redemption on Sundays on the Thin Line Rock Station. And I've only got the first episode dropped this past week, and got the second one recorded. So I'm still brand new. I'm figuring it out. I don't know what I'm doing, but It's fun.
To be honest, look, I didn't know what I was doing with the podcast, and it just seemed to come second nature. I didn't know when we were invited to be on the station from James, I was excited, but yet I was scared. I wasn't scared. I was nervous because I'm like, this is cool. I kind of wanted to be a DJ at one time when I was younger, but I don't know if I could do this. But I did it, and it just seemed to come second nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have the same stories that first responders have. I just talk about my own stories. And, I can relate to the music because I love the music. I love music in general. And I have more of a knowledge of the music because I grew up listening to music. That was kind of like our outlet. But
well, I don't
don't
think
worry.
though. Thank you.
You'll get it after time. It'll come to you.
It felt really natural recording, but I don't think that we always need other first responder stories. I think sometimes it's really good and healthy to kind of get out of the echo chamber and just to get other perspectives and talk to people who aren't in this world, in this space. And it kind of broadens our perspective a little bit of like, oh, not everybody thinks that way or not everybody sees things that way. And that's okay. It doesn't make us more separate. It just makes us a little bit different. And I think when you learn how to appreciate those differences, it can really kind of expand your world a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely opens your eyes up. And we've been trying to open people's eyes up too when it comes to dealing with first responders and helping them to understand what first responders go through, and also to let them know that these are people too. They have families, they have thoughts, they have feelings, and, they're not robots.
Yeah.
And we can't treat them that way. And it's comforting to me to know that, I'm standing from the outside looking in and I'm seeing the appreciation from the first responders saying, hey, I'm glad there's somebody out there that's like you, that is looking after us and that is, trying to help us as much as, it's up to us to help them. First responders are there to help us in our time of need, especially in our darkest times. And we should be able to help them in return. What can we do? We could bring awareness.
Yeah. That's awesome. And because oftentimes, especially in this day and age, it feels like the opposite of support most times. It's just like this constant questioning and under a microscope and opposition. And it's like, most of us are just out here. Well, not me anymore, but they're just out there trying to do their job. They're trying to help people. They're trying to keep people safe and healthy. And all of the nonsense is really just a big distraction from being able to do their job the way that it's supposed to be done. And that's just it too. 90% of the people who are criticizing it don't have a clue about the law. They don't have a clue about procedure and the realities of how things need to take place if you're going to actually keep people safe. Like if I've got somebody wielding a machete, I'm not calling a social worker. Like we don't have time for that, right? Like, so and I don't necessarily want to go down that rabbit hole, but I think so many people just live in their own bubble and are not aware of the realities. And in part, that is thanks to the responders because they've been able to hold that line to where other people regular citizens don't have to be exposed to that because that line is being held and they can live in their little bubble, but they don't know what they don't know.
Right. Yeah, they only see what they want to see sometimes. And it is, like for me, it's up to me to show them different. I can get through their heads. If I can't, then obviously there's more going on upstairs than what they're saying or what they're leading on to. To kind of piggyback off of what you were saying about, if somebody's wielding a machete, you don't call a social worker. But we interviewed a guest. His name is Captain Adam Myers. He was responding to a call to a mental health patient, but they were on an outing. She was off her medication or something had happened. to where she was in Walmart and she had opened a knife at the Walmart store, and she was walking around and they called the police. He approached, he found her, and he was asking her to put the knife down. It was all on the phone. We can hear it because we got the recording of it, and he was telling her to put the knife down. Well, she came at him, and he had to shoot her twice. And unfortunately, she died. And that really kind of sent him in a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
It was sad. But he came
Yeah.
out of it, and now he's a captain now.
Good for him. Yeah. And those situations are very real. And it's like, and in the moment that this person is not in their right mind, but you have no choice. We're trained that if you're within 21 feet of somebody with a knife, they can close that gap faster than you can draw your weapon.
Yeah.
And people don't, these are the things that people don't know. Right. And I've had similar situations. The machete reference was actually due to one of my buddies. I was on shift and he was calling out that he had a guy with a machete. Then all of a sudden it was 2 machetes. And I actually got in a little bit of trouble because my sergeant and I were on another call and we cleared to go back him. And we got on the highway and I went a little too fast for my sergeant's liking because this was not only a coworker, he was a friend of mine. And I'm like, I got to get there. Right. And I remember him saying like, you are no good to anybody if you don't even make it there safely. And I'm like, I hear you, but I made it there safely and everybody's fine now. So that was like one situation that he was put in that I was backing. But the other situation that comes to mind was and I actually write about this in my book. There was a young boy that we dealt with often. And he was adopted from Chernobyl, and he had a lot of mental health issues. They weren't sure exactly what those issues were, and so they had a really hard time managing them. And I think at the time he was 11, but his dad had MS and his mom had ovarian cancer, and they could not control him. But he liked to call 911 and hang up and play cops and robbers. He knew that if he called and hung up that we would have to show up and do a welfare check. And the first time I ever met him, I was still on FTO training, and my FTO was already very familiar with him, and I was not. But the mom opened the door and said, he's got a knife, and he's running around the kitchen with a steak knife, running around the living room with a steak knife. And my FTO immediately pulls out his taser, and this kid's like 9 years old. And I'm like, what are we doing? And he's like, he literally, like, what are you doing? He literally has a knife. He's 12 feet away from you. And I was like, oh, got it. Okay. But in your mind, if the person is mentally ill or if the person is a child, it just doesn't compute. Right. So fast forward a couple of years and we get called out, and I go up to the door and she's said he took off somewhere. Just to let you know, he's got a baggie full of borax, and he says it's cocaine because he's trying to get you guys to get riled up. I'm like, okay, good to know. She goes, I don't know if he has a knife or not. That was kind of his thing. So I then hear him say, I'm going to get you, or something like that from behind the tree. And I go after him and he takes off, and it's dark, but they've got a light on their garage and my cruiser's in the driveway. So I lost track of him, and I go to sit down in my cruiser to radio out that because I knew other units were coming, to radio out that he was in the area. And all of a sudden I look up and I see this shadow because he's backlit by the garage light, and it's on the passenger side front part of my cruiser. And I see this extended arm with the shape of a gun. And at the moment, I can't remember what he said. And that's thanks to lots of EMDR on this, because I used to know exactly how it all panned out. And I'm like, holy crap, this kid has a gun. And so I stand up and I draw my weapon. and got him in my sights. And I started to rock back on the trigger, and I got him in my sights, and then I see this flash and I hear a pop. And that's when I started to pull back on the trigger. And something in that moment told me not to continue to rock back on the trigger. And I looked down, and there was confetti all over the hood of my car.
Gosh.
He had a confetti gun, and he almost lost his life for it because he was playing cops and robbers. And in those same moments, all the headlines were flashing in my head. In that moment, that's the last thing I should have been worried about. But I was like, what I saw in my head was deputy kills young boy, deputy shoots mentally disabled child. Like, just all these things. But that's the reality. Those are the distractions that keep people from being able to do their job in a clear and pure way. Thank God that one panned out the way it did. But that could have gone really bad.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm like, what just happened? And he took off, and I had to radio out that he had a confetti gun because I didn't want anybody else to have to, to be in that mindset and see the same things that I saw and think that he had a real gun. So those are things that people just, even with training, in that moment, you just don't know. I mean, and that was, I thank God for that moment of, hey, you can stop squeezing the trigger, because I didn't even, it all happened so quickly. It would have been a toss up of whether or not I would have kept doing it, so, but yeah, those are very real situations, and most people faced with those wouldn't have a clue what to do. And yeah, who knows what the outcomes would have been.
Yeah, you never know, and it would have affected you, obviously.
Well,
wouldn't have been entirely on you because you didn't know.
right. Like it probably could have been justified, but even the thing with that is, most of the time, even if the outcome is an outcome where nobody was hurt, the physical, mental, emotional reaction that you have in your body, it sticks with you. And because the outcome was like an almost call, then we kind of just gloss over it. And that's a lot of what I talk about, is like nervous system regulation. And I mentioned EMDR with this one because I didn't realize how long that call stuck with me, because the outcome wasn't a bad outcome, but my body reacted as if it was worst case scenario. I was completely elevated. I was ready to make that ultimate life or death call on somebody else's life. That affects you more than you realize. And I don't think even a lot of responders know that, which is why I teach what I teach, because that stress cycle doesn't ever get fully completed. It stops. We cut it off at the pass. And so it kind of just continues to rattle around inside our system until we deal with it. And luckily I had the opportunity to do some EMDR on that one, and many others as well, but that has helped tremendously.
It's pretty awesome. How did that EMDR affect you initially? I know I've heard a lot of things about EMDR and all that stuff, but how does that affect you emotionally initially? Like when you first start, was it confusing? Was it like nerve rattling? How was that?
I would say it's definitely activating, like, because you have to kind of bring some of the stuff up to the surface in order to deal with it. You don't necessarily have to talk about it and describe the whole situation, but you do have to recall it internally. And sometimes that's really hard to do. Sometimes people can't even get there because their system is so resistant to it. Because when they do recall it, it's such a visceral reaction for them. But I was very fortunate to have some good practitioners. So definitely very activating, slightly exhausting, but it basically took for that, we'll just use that scenario as an example. There were certain things about that situation that I didn't realize would trigger me if I experienced them again. So like if there was a light above a garage, it was kind of like it would give me that same feeling, like this, like my chest would kind of start to tighten, and it's such a random thing, but that was one of my focal points. So it took this situation and scenario that was kind of open-ended in my system, and it would come back blaring and loud and vivid, and it would take me right back to that moment. After EMDR, it now is something that I can recall, I can talk about, and I can see in my brain, but I don't have any reaction to it. It's not loud. It's just kind of static. It's not really vivid. It almost like it's like it went to black and white, if that makes sense. And my body doesn't react. So it takes all of the activating pieces of it and kind of subdues them and brings them back down. And what it's doing is it's taking trauma and filing it away into your brain as a memory where it belongs. The trauma is kind of like living on the surface, and it hasn't been filed away yet to a memory. So it's been helpful with a lot of those kind of scenarios and even personal life things.
Okay. But it's definitely helped you quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's certain ones that like it helped, but like didn't totally do the job. And that's totally fine. That's normal. It's human. But it, yes, has helped me kind of release a lot of things that would have activated me in the past.
Right.
We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
So you're from Ohio. I used to live in
Yes.
Ohio, in Williams
Really?
County. Yes.
Okay.
Northwest. The very
Gotcha.
corner, the top corner.
Yeah. So I grew up on the complete opposite side, and I'm now Northeast Ohio.
Okay. So that's where my cousin, well, he was in Michigan. I don't know if you
Okay.
heard about that. William Butler Jr., Bill Butler Jr.
Name sounds familiar.
June 20th of 24 when he was killed. Hillsdale County is right next to Williams County. So yeah, it was a sad thing. It was
Yeah.
all over the news, and it was like a week after there was another officer that was shot and killed in Cleveland, a young man, like 24 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was so recent. When you were telling me about it earlier, I think I do remember. I don't remember details, but I think I do remember hearing about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a big thing. A week or 2 weeks before that, another deputy in Elkland County, Michigan, was killed. And then we had in Hillsdale, we had a dispatcher who was battling cancer, and she passed away about a week later after my cousin was killed.
Jeez. That's awful.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of why we started this whole thing, and it's just been growing, and it's been helpful. It's been helpful for me to deal with the grieving. It's been helpful for other first responders to be able to kind of get out their thoughts and feelings and emotions, or just talk, just have a conversation.
Yeah.
Even if they don't want to talk about their mental health issues, just good for them to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that over time, especially in law enforcement, I feel like people just kind of isolate and withdraw and shut down. It's like they have so many thoughts, so many experiences that they've collected over time that it's like they just don't even feel like sifting through it all to have a conversation. Um, and I get it, but being able to connect to people it's healing. And they've actually, I'll get out my nerd hat here for a second. So 2023, Surgeon General released a report called the loneliness epidemic, and it was on the heels of COVID. But they found that if you don't have safe, healthy connections and relationships in your life, that it is not only detrimental to your emotional and mental health, but it is more detrimental to your physical health than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And it's also more detrimental to your physical health than drinking 6 alcoholic beverages a day. So, you can work out and eat properly and take all your supplements and do all the things for your physical health that you want. But if you don't have healthy relationships in your life, it's still as if you're not doing it. Like, it just kind of negates all of those other efforts. And so it's more important than people think.
Right. Definitely counterintuitive, I believe. It doesn't make sense to work out when you don't have any healthy relationships or any kind of positive mental health things going on in your life.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, obviously it's not going to hurt you to try to be healthy, but you got to allow yourself to be in connection with other people.
Right. Having a healthy, even balance, be appropriate for people. It's fortunate that I have Brianne as my wife and partner. She is the backbone of the entire operation. But,
Women usually are.
and she's a lot smarter than I am when it comes to technology. So, but her and I have actually known each other for quite a long time.
Really?
And yeah, we
How did you
met
meet?
through a friend of mine,
Okay.
and he was actually her ex-boyfriend. And
Oh,
it's funny, but he's the one that married us. He actually encouraged us to get together. So when we met, there wasn't any romantic involvement. He was my friend, but I was always on his case of why he was being a knucklehead and just being stupid. And that's how I kept in contact through her, so I can keep in contact through him, because we were in a lockup situation. Years later, obviously, 10 or 12 years later, we reconnected and we ended up together, and we're married now. And he was our officiant. He encouraged us to
that's
get
so
together,
cool.
kind of. And she's been amazing. She's an awesome person, very smart, and she helped me put all this stuff together. I wouldn't have known where to start.
That's awesome. You guys sound like a great team.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely a great team. And I encouraged her to get on the radio station. She didn't want to do it, and she kept trying to get on there. And I'm like, why don't you just do it? You're not going to talk on my sessions. You're going to talk on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. You got the freedom there to do whatever you want.
Right. So I think it's pretty awesome. Definitely glad that you're on the Thin Line Rock station. That's pretty awesome. I mean, I know it's hard to get on there. A lot of people are asking to get on there, and
Really?
they don't just take anybody.
Well, that's good to know. I did not know that, but so interesting how that came about. Of course, I'm friends with Aaron Jane and Doug White as well. And I think he's kind of taken a step back, but still, everybody's still good, I think. And so I've obviously been listening to the station a little bit. Because they would be like, hey, I gave you a shout out the other day, or I'm giving you a shout out. Listen to it at this time, and I'm like, you guys are so cool. Like this is really neat. So, probably like October or November, and this might sound crazy to some people, and that is totally fine. But this is like God just put it on my heart, like, hey, eventually you're gonna be doing that too. And I was like, that's like, I don't see that. Cause I'm like, I'm not a podcaster. Like I've been on a lot of podcasts, but I don't have a podcast. I was like, I don't know. We'll just leave that alone and just see what happens. Right. So like 3 weeks later, James reached out and said, hey, do you want to you've been mentioned many times on the station. Do you want to put up a commercial for your books? And I was like, I don't like being like salesy or like trying to push my stuff. I was like, I really appreciate it. Let me think on it. And I just never I didn't respond after that because I was like, it just feels weird to be like, buy my stuff. So then interestingly, I had been praying for an opportunity to be an unexpected or be a light in an unexpected place for God, for my faith. And it was kind of like God just kind of like knocked on my forehead, like, hey, remember that thing? Remember that thing we talked about? And I was like, I wonder. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shoot my shot. And I sent him an email and I was like, any interest in a like Sunday segment that's kind of faith-based? And he's like, you know what? I don't believe in coincidences. And we have just recently had some DJs start asking for Christian rock songs, and let's do it. And I was like, serious? And he's like, absolutely. And I was like, okay. So then it was like, game on, right? We got the green light. I'm like, now what? So I had to kind of think quick and kind of put it all together and figure out how I was gonna just what I was gonna do with it. And so I was like, well, let's call it Rock and Redemption because everybody has a shot at redemption. And so I just get on there and talk about your opportunity for eternal salvation if you want it and play some good music. And some of the songs are ones that we know and love. You just maybe haven't thought about the lyrics before.
Right. There's definitely room for redemption for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in that totally. People can be redeemed even in the worst situations, and it's amazing. It's kind of unique. It's a unique session that you're doing. I know mine's kind of wild and crazy and weird, but I guess it's just the way. But I love God. I believe in God and stuff, and we pray and do all that good stuff. But there is the unhinged side that I just have to let out, the demons.
Hey, better out than in, right?
Just get them out there. We don't need that stuff.
Yeah, no, I've had some good responses from it. And it was only 1 week so far, but I've had a lot of people just message and say they were excited for it. And it's rock and roll's a little bit on the darker side of things sometimes. And so why not just switch it up? And I know that there's probably some people that are going to maybe tune into my session, not realizing and be like, ugh, let me just turn this off and wait a couple hours, turn it back on. But hopefully there's some people that are like, wait, what is this? Maybe I need some of this in my life. And so it's my hope that there's more of those than the alternative.
Yeah. I mean, there's a mix of people, but I mean, it may not be for everybody, but you know what? You're still going to get the listeners. You're still going to get, people wanting to respond to your station and your sessions or your tracks. Well, we call them segments, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still learning the lingo. I don't know.
Yeah. I can't even remember how long we've been doing it for 4 or 5 months now, something like that. Maybe more. I know
Nice.
I just was on TikTok and I started following the Thin Line Rock Station. I never even downloaded the app. It was funny because James had reached out to us and Brianne got the message because she manages all that stuff. And we were doing a patch trade. And so we said, send you some patches if you are ready for the challenge. I'm like, what do you mean challenge? What are you talking about? So yeah, we sat down and we talked to him about it. And he asked us if I wanted to be a DJ. And I'm like, I didn't even bat an eye. I said, yes. I had no idea what I was doing. And I just did it. It came natural. Everything just came so natural, flowing. I talked to him some more as I went on. It was like in the first month. After the first month, I got familiar with Joe, DJ Java, and he was on the podcast and talked with him about James and maybe wanting to do some more time. And he said, the only thing you do is just ask. And so I did. And I was only trying to get another extra couple of hours. And I ended up with 2 days a week, 4 hours on Tuesday and Thursday.
Wow. That's
But
awesome.
yeah, to come along with that, I brought 2 more DJs along. So I got my wife on there. She does the Coffee Chaos and Courage. And then DJ Jason from Alpha Redico. Jason
Okay.
Andrews. Yeah. So
I guess I thought he had been doing this for a while.
he had been a DJ for quite a while.
Okay.
I brought him on to the Midnight Rock Station.
Nice.
Where I suggested, it's funny because he was thinking about it and people said, you should be a DJ, blah, 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 because he had done it previously, like live DJing stuff. And I was thinking about it and it was like, he was on my heart. That's how I got the more time was I brought it up to James. I was like, hey, if you're looking for more DJs, I know this guy. I think he'd be a good fit. He'd be a great asset. And so they did their thing and conversed and they came back and he's on the station. And then, James was like, well, what about your wife? Do you think she'd want to be on the station with you? I was like, I don't know. Maybe she could have her own segment.
You're like, my segment's mine, but yeah go ahead.
Yeah, she can come up with her own, but she does good. I think she does a great job. So I know some they come up with a theme and a theory or a theme of what they're going to do. Mine's just totally off the cuff. It's just whatever comes to mind, my experiences, and I just say weird stuff. Relate to me.
I think we're all a little bit weird, and I think we all need to embrace it a little bit more. So you just let that weirdness shine.
Yeah. I'll let it out and I'll laugh at myself all the time. I don't know if anybody else is laughing, but that's okay because I'm laughing at myself.
It's good for the soul.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, we're definitely glad that you're on the station. So
appreciate that.
How do people get a hold of your book? How can they get in contact with you and how can they get a hold of your book? Or one of your
books, they're both on Amazon. If you just type in my name or it's Beat the Burnout and Respond to Reset. And I'm on socials. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. But the easiest way would be to go to akdozanti.com and everything is linked up there. That's kind of the hub. So that's the simplest way to start finding everything.
Okay. So you're on Amazon.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of Relentless Courage?
Yes.
Okay. Michael Seguru?
Mm-hmm.
I got He was on our podcast. Great guy. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
And I was thinking you should have a podcast.
Well, a lot of people think that I do. I've actually had an absurd amount of messages on social media from people that are like, hey, if you're ever looking for a guest for your podcast. And I'm like, I don't have one. I just am on, like, I guess I just borrow everybody else's podcast. Like, I don't know. That was when I started in 2021. That was actually how things kind of like started to kick off for me, as people were inviting me on their podcasts. And then other podcasters would be like, oh, well, why don't you come on mine? And then why don't you come on mine? And that's kind of how things really kicked off. And ever since then, I mean, I think I've not counted them up, but I know that it's above 65 and it's probably close to 70, if not more.
Wow.
Which is just absurd. Like, so maybe I should have my own podcast. I mean, I would have lots and lots of people to bring on, because
everybody that you want on our podcast, they can come on yours.
Exactly. I could have like 4 seasons set up already. Like,
right. Look at that. Already done for you.
Yeah. Well, being a wife and a mom of 2 little boys, and running a business, I'm not sure that I need anything else on my plate. That's why I kind of love the little segment that I have on the station, because it doesn't require like a ton of extra work, but it's like an extra fun thing that I can do and kind of be creative with. So it really worked out perfectly.
Right. That's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. I know doing the podcast, we've met some amazing people, people like yourselves. And also, I've met people that are running for Congress in Texas. I've met, do you know who Sheriff Mark Lamb is?
I do. Yeah.
He was on our podcast, and also got a sign of his 10-7 book. Yeah.
Wow.
Great guy. Love him. I love what he stands for. He's an amazing person. I met Michael Segru, Captain Adam Myers, just some great law enforcement, really great firefighters, EMS, really good people. In fact, one of our guests, who is EMS down in Florida, is really good friends with my wife now. They are like soul sisters.
It's really incredible when you get into this quote unquote space, or this world of mental wellness for first responders. And it's almost like there's so many responders out there that don't know how many resources are available to them. And so I love being able to make these connections and have this network. I mentioned earlier about my actual old school Rolodex that I have of all the, resources. And there's so many people out there doing so much good work. And I just wish that there's almost like this layer that sometimes I feel like needs to be punctured through to get through to these frontline guys and gals, because the resources are there and they're real and they're tangible and you can utilize them. But so many people, I think it might just be that there's so much noise. But so many people just say, well, nobody understands, nobody gets me, nobody knows what I've been through. Or, they don't have resources like that in my area. I hear that a lot. And it's like, they're everywhere, but you just have to look for them, or you have to know how to tap into them. And that's why I keep like my Rolodex and my spreadsheet and all this stuff. And I start, when I go to conferences, even if I'm the keynote, like I go around to all the tables and I learn about what people are offering, so that I can maybe tell somebody like, hey, that exact thing you're looking for, like you need help with a mortgage and you're a first responder, like there's a person for that. You need help with financial planning, there's a person for that. You need help with life insurance, there's a person for that. And it's not even just the wellness things, it's literally everything. And so I appreciate you doing what you do and helping people to share what they're doing. And we can all, I think, act as a safety net for all the responders that are, whether they're first line or front line or admin, whatever the case is. There's so many resources available, and I just wish more people realized that.
Absolutely. And it does take a village. So that's what we're trying to do, is build that village and build up that connection with people so that we can have all of the outlets available to all of our first responders and military veterans and active military as well. So
Yeah.
what they won't take care of, it's up to us to take care of them.
That's awesome. I'm sure it's much appreciated. And as a former person, I appreciate it. But, that's why I now focus on those who are in it now and or people who have been through it and just haven't worked internally through what they went through.
Right. It's pretty awesome. Definitely appreciate what you're doing. It's a noble cause. Just keep up doing the good work. And if you ever decide to do a podcast when you get some time, then you should.
Appreciate that. I'll definitely
good
put you on the
listener.
guest list.
Yeah. I'll be there.
Good. Got one down.
Yeah. And you're also welcome to come to our off-duty edition.
Okay, cool.
It's more relaxed. You don't have to talk about any of the other stuff. It's just talk about daily life kind of things. And if you listen to the first episode we did with Jason, you can kind of get an idea of how we do that.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, let's do it.
It's pretty awesome. I definitely appreciate you coming on and gracing us with your presence. And it's great to meet one of our newest DJs on the Thin Line Rock Station.
Well, thank you for having me. And I appreciate all you guys do, and just keep up the great work. It's amazing.
Well, I'll let you get back to your family. And
I'm sure you could probably hear them in the background right now.
I definitely love the challenge points you have. I do have challenge.
Yes. I need a bigger case. They're overflowing. I've got a stack in front of it because I can't fit anymore.
We had some made for my cousin. The company gave us a bunch of them in honor of him.
That's awesome.
This picture on it, and then his end of watch. So we have tons of these that we're showing. And then when people send us patches and coins, we send these out in return.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's in honor of him. He'll never be forgotten. And going to carry on his memory and his legacy the best way we can.
Good for you. That's awesome. This has been a pleasure. I'm really glad we got to do this.
Yeah. We thank you and appreciate you coming on and telling your story and giving us another avenue for people to kind of turn to. I mean, you got the book and you're on the radio station, so people will get to know you. And keep rocking out on your Christian rock station. That's pretty awesome.
I will definitely continue.
It's fun. Let me tell you, it's fun.
Is. It's a blast.
Of course, I got 2 4-hour segments to do on Thin Line today, and I have a 4-hour segment to do on my station. Plus, we're gonna do another segment for late night stuff. So
nice, busy.
Got to try to get it done for Monday.
Yeah, right.
So,
all right.
Definitely thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. It was good talking to you, and it was good to meet you.
You too. Be well. Stay safe.
You too.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah. Have a good afternoon, morning. Well, it's afternoon now.
You too.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, everybody. That was AK Dozanti, former law enforcement. She wrote a book, and she's done a lot of things, and she's definitely passionate about helping out first responders. So you can find her books on Amazon, and you can support that effort by buying her book. If you need it, buy it. And if you feel like there's somebody in your life that needs that book or any of her books, purchase those books and make sure that those people get them. Hopefully everybody's had a wonderful day, and we definitely appreciate all of our guests and all of our listeners for coming on. We love you guys. Have a blessed day. Stay safe and be well. This is 8158 podcast. Have a good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who serve, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158.